Ladies and gentlemen,
You are now about to witness
The journey that is the Life Choices Podcast.
Yeah!
Welcome back, everybody, to Life Choices Podcast, where we discuss mindset, success, good and the tough aspects of going after your passions. On today's episode, we have welcomed Sam Horrocks to the stage.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
Amazing. Sam and I go way back. We met probably back in, I want to say around 2010, 2011.
Yeah, it most likely was. I think I moved here in the end of 2008, so it could have been anywhere in there, 09, 2010, yeah.
That's interesting because I actually started my yacht career as a chef in 2008 in Lauderdale, and then a year or two later is when the boat I was on came up to West Palm. You were working at Kachina, right?
Yep.
And I remember exactly how we actually met because we were having brunch, I think, and I ordered the Eggs Benedict. And I was blown away. I love the food. And I came into the back of the restaurant, and then I think you were either expediting or you were on the line, and I asked like who's in charge or whatever. And you were like, that's me. And I was like, I just gave compliments. I was like, hey, I'm a chef. Like, I work, blah, blah, blah. And that's how we actually met.
Yeah.
So
through a window of a kitchen. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
And from then we've stayed in contact. I've seen your life progress, your career progress. And that's pretty much what we're here to talk about today is, kind of letting people know how to make that shift from being someone's employee to becoming the employer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So back then you were at the time a line cook.
I think it may have been like a AM sous chef, or the guy that gets to work Sunday morning.
Right, exactly. So,
the best management shift.
Right.
Entry level management. Yeah.
So come in with a hangover, basically.
Yeah, or in a lot of cases, it was like leaving Kachina that evening, a couple hours before I'd be back at 5 a.m. I feel like that was kind of like a lifestyle at the time.
Lifestyle in our industry.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But, with age, I think that gets fewer and further between,
Absolutely.
Naturally. You just can't do that every day anymore.
Well, the young years in the hospitality industry, whether you're cooking or serving or bartending, whatever it is, it's late nights. When you finish, you got to unwind somehow. So
yes.
It's the party aspect.
That's definitely something that you have almost branded in your brain. Who you actually are is I need to unwind. Like that's how I need to, because it's true. It winds you up to that point where you literally need you need a drink. To loosen up. Yeah,
you need something before you can go to bed because it's just hard to fall asleep after you've been in the heat of the moment, in the rush of the night. Serving all that food.
Yeah.
Did you ever read Kitchen Confidential?
Oh yeah. When reading Kitchen Confidential for me was kind of like an inspiration to become more than just the kind of cook that I was at the time. It was like it kind of like glorified almost like a disapproved lifestyle. Like our parents were like, why would you become a chef? Like that's, that generation before us, the reputation that chefs had was just, mean and violent in some circumstances, and drug abuse and alcohol abuse, which, still is obviously the case in a lot of situations nowadays. But anyway, that book, Kitchen Confidential, kind of glorifies it to younger chefs, like the excitement and the rush of it, and it gives you an interesting perspective that it made me want to be a better chef and a better cook. It did.
Yeah, it is, because back then, and at that time when his book came out, someone gave it to me. I was early 20s, and so I was already cooking for like 6-7 years at that time, and back then it was like, oh, you're a cook. It was almost like you were looked down upon because that's the profession you've chosen.
Like the help.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, how that can be kind of a snooty term a little bit.
And then obviously all of the drug aspect, the drinking aspect, the partying aspect, you're a rebellious person, child, whatever. Like, why are you doing that? That book for me, I literally remember reading that book. I think the place, it was like a French restaurant I was working at. And in the back of the kitchen, there was like a kind of solarium room. And I literally had a milk crate turned upside down. And in between the shifts, or whenever I had time to sit and have a 15-minute smoke break, because back then you could smoke, in the back of the kitchen.
Yep.
I'd be sitting there reading this book. And you're right, it glorified it. It made, for me at least, I believe that book and Anthony Bourdain kind of made us seem like rock stars, and so any young man, young woman that was in a kitchen and understood the nuances of what that was, all of a sudden you were like, here's this guy explaining your life. Like, he's literally writing exactly what you're living.
Yes.
And you connected with him so quickly through that book that you were just like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I want to fucking do.
This for some strange reason, it was incredibly appealing.
Right. And it gives you that rush. It lights up our faces right now thinking about the way, about the way that man articulated our lives as we were doing that.
I actually bought that book for both of my parents when I was really young, because it was interesting. It wasn't a decision that was supported from a young age. Like my family, they didn't know what to think about it, cooking or, working in kitchens. Like, it just, my first job paid $5.25 an hour, I think, and they gave us a cut of cash tips, which might've been $80 by the end of the week, but 18 years old, making $5 an hour to work in these like miserable conditions. And your only inspiration was Kitchen Confidential at that point in your life. I really enjoyed the social part of it, and I didn't know I wanted to be a cook yet. And then I read that book and I was like, this is interesting. And then actually my very first chef, this guy, Chris, he kind of was that, more or less, was that. I just saw the rock star in someone, he was the bad guy that would just close a restaurant, just walk out, I'm not doing this shit anymore, and he would just go to the completely chest up, tough guy, not doing it, send everybody home, and he would literally quit and, come back the next day and mend things up with the owners. And I'm sure that was for whatever his own reasons were. I think he had a lot of issues with substance at the time, but which thankfully he never introduced me to any of that stuff,
Right.
So that's nice to know that there was the know-it-all to not be introducing like a 18-year-old, like super eager line cook to, relatively hard drugs.
Well, the other side of what it is in the kitchen.
Yeah. And a lot of times down here now in Florida, like that was in Massachusetts, here now in Florida, I mean, it's, it's the whole community of what you need is already in those restaurants. Listen, a lot of times,
I said it from day one. Unfortunately, fortunately, you can find anything you need in the kitchen.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
Whether it's the kitchen staff or the front end staff, it doesn't matter. You can find whatever you need if you want to have a release, an escape.
Yeah. An escape.
Drink, drugs, whatever. And it is navigating through that. That's an excellent point, because navigating through that part of the lifestyle in kitchens is not always easy, because like Anthony Bourdain said, he had his addictions. Many of us have, went to the bottle for periods of time. I can fully admit, I did have about a 7-year phase of my life where I was an alcoholic, and I can, say that out loud with confidence, because I'm now no longer like that. I can have a drink when I feel like it, and I can go months without having a drink. I never stole, to get it, but there were many days where I didn't go to the bar to have a social drink after work. I went to the bar to get drunk.
Yeah.
I wanted
the
to
feeling.
Yeah,
you were chasing the feeling.
To get drunk.
Yeah.
I wanted to see the bottom of a bottle. Excuse me. I wanted to see the bottom of a bottle and pass out when I got home. I didn't want to have to think. And then all of a sudden you do it all over again. You go to work, put on your chef coat.
Awful routine.
Yeah, you're
when that's your normal.
Yeah. And that is what is, normal for most people in the industry. So navigating through the drugs and the alcohol, and for us men, the women, because it's all kind of part of the nuance of being a chef, to get out of that alive is something huge,
Yeah, actually, I laugh because it's kind of a nervous reaction, honestly, but I have had several friends that didn't make it out alive from the industry. I watched drinking kill 2 people in their 30s. And they were close to me at work. That was my team. That was, you know, it wasn't when we were together. It was after we had all parted ways and we weren't in the same restaurants anymore. But then you have, you know, one of them just tried to actually quit drinking on his own, like cold turkey, after having a very severe drinking issue. And that was actually what was the cause of his death. He ended up in the hospital, and then his body never started functioning properly again, and that was it. And then the other one, he was from Guatemala, pretty well known, probably with a lot of the hospitality people. It was his name was Eddie. We all kind of knew Eddie, even other restaurants, other groups. Such a great guy, friendly, amazing personality, you know. And he just had his demons and couldn't just let go, and that it ended up taking him too. And then you have other people that I was close to that, you know, they had other issues with other things besides just drinking. And one close friend of mine took his own life. And it's just wild to think that, you know, I don't necessarily think that was due to the restaurant industry. That was just where we knew each other. I'm sure that it added a layer of maybe stress that, you know, some people don't need or want to necessarily handle, and it's very sad to lose people you care about that are part of your everyday. Yeah,
I mean, there's a gentleman, we'll leave nameless, but I do believe we probably both know him mutually. He was a close friend to you know, my circle of people, and you know, unfortunately, he had a heroin addiction that you know, a lot of people didn't know about, and some people did. You know, he was the life of the party. He was such a great human being, you know, during the day, and like, you just knew it. But, you know, unfortunately that took his life, and he was very much like, you know, in the hospitality industry, you know, he was a bartender, like loved by everybody. But again, you don't know the demons that are going inside your coworkers.
We all have our own story, you know, and that's why when I see people kind of, you know, take it back to a restaurant, for example, so let's say a server's just not getting it together. I was kind of the type of manager that I use sarcasm as a tool constantly, which is very common. You know, it probably wasn't always fair, you know, looking back on it, to use that. But now I'm a little older and wiser, kind of. I look back and, you know, those people had all kinds of things going on. Like, everybody had their own shit going on. And, you know, the last thing they needed was that guy being sarcastic, you know, and over time, as I got to know him, they would let me know. And I kind of learned a small lesson every time. And now at this point in my life, if someone's having a bad day, there's a reason for it. And it doesn't have anything to do with me, you know, and that's where, when I was younger, I didn't know how to not take things personal, you know, and it was kind of like odd to be that way, because I don't necessarily think I always help people when they're having a bad day because of my personality.
Right.
You know?
But now, as a business owner,
yes,
and your employees come into work or what have you, you know, you're able to notice that right off the bat. And instead of approaching it, and like, I do sarcasm as well, it's like a defense mechanism. And I like taking things personally when you're younger and you're not aware of like who you are yet.
Yes.
That's a big thing. You just assume that everything is coming at you, where you don't understand.
Not the case.
They're dealing with something that has nothing to do with you. So their reaction to you is very much what's going on inside their head. But now, as a business owner that has employees, you're able to notice that and kind of like maybe pull them aside and say, hey, listen, are you good today?
Yeah. Now life is different for me. I basically don't have like a full-time staff. I work full-time mostly in, I have like reoccurring clients on their locations or in people's homes mostly now.
Right.
Occasionally we do mix in a larger event, you know, a lot of wine things like, I was fortunate enough to meet someone who's very involved in the wine community. So I'm kind of like their go-to guy for things. And, when I do get with a team, I like to treat people how I want to be treated, and I like to pay people how I would like to be paid. So, you know, before I necessarily even call someone, I have their salary for a job negotiated, and it's like the kind of money that people don't say no to. It's like the kind of money that you would call out of your actual real job for the day, because you're going to make more coming to work, and it's always a nice setting. See, if you ever ask my wife, when I have a big event, like a large event, doing a holiday party for one of my friends who's the executive chef of the country club. It's actually up north in, gosh, where is it? Stewart, I believe. Yeah. Anyway, so we already kind of have the pay figured out for how much the people that work with me are going to make and everything. And I always like to have a good offer, you know, as far as their salary. And anyway, when I call these people to come in, you know, I'm a very understanding person. So I kind of like, I understand they all have individual stories. We all have children, you know, we all have, you know, it has to be worth their while to do some of these jobs. Some of them have to, you know, I'm sorry. I think I completely lost
No, you're fine.
what we were talking about.
You're fine. It was talking. We were talking about, you know, understand that people have their own issues going on or whatever, and like treating them nicely.
Yes.
And you were talking about how the how you pay people.
Okay. I guess I understand where I was going. So I think my thought about being an employer is to be the kind of employer that people want to work for.
Right.
It benefits all of us to be part of a job together. And that is how I like to work. So if I hire staff, for example, the Mariner Sands, I said it, but I don't know if that matters or not. My friend is the country club chef up there. Well, I think we needed 5 front of the house staff and probably 4 or 5 guys in the kitchen, you know? So we all came together. We made it happen. It was great. Big success. I feel good about it. And those people always want to come back to work again when we do something together because it's a really fun environment. You know, there'd be some extent of like drinking going on, you know, to kind of keep the vibe nice and casual and stuff, you know, behind the scenes, especially during preparation. You know, you're in this place for days, you know, you'd have a few beers towards the end of the shift, you know. Obviously respectfully, because there would be people working around, you know, we wouldn't be like blatantly drinking alcohol, you know, it'd be in a coffee cup or something. You know, so I always like to create a nice, friendly environment, treat people how I want to be treated, you know, and help solve any problems that arise for other people. Because, you know, a lot of times early on in my career in a restaurant, when I was new to this stuff and I didn't know, there was never anyone who was really willing to just kind of cut into their own time in a restaurant and take away from what they were trying to accomplish to make sure that, you know, I didn't get in the shits.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know how familiar you are with Cafe Boulud. I mean, Jimmy worked there for years.
I mean, I do know the place. Yeah.
Yeah. That's an environment that you can really like learn a lot in a very small period of time, but there's like a certain amount of like, if you don't, it's hard to compare it to really anything else, but you need to make friends with one of the sous chefs like immediately through the door in that place, because you need those people to like help and support you. Yeah. And it's just tough because there just wasn't always that person. So I want to be that person to solve your problems if we're working together. You know, it's just, I try to think, you know.
Well, you take your experience of when you were coming up in the industry of cooking and the things you didn't appreciate and the things you would have appreciated, and you now try to implement that into being, you know, the best boss you can. Yeah. Because in our industry of being a cook, you know, chef, cook, sous chef, whatever it is, for the longest time, it was a sink or swim situation. You know, you'd start off as a dishwasher or like a third line cook or whatever, and you were told this is your area, this is what you have to do, and you're told it really quickly, and then it's like, okay, and then everyone else just goes off, and you're like, all of a sudden you're doing like a 500 meal night, and you see all these predominantly men at the time, just killing it, and you're just kind of like not really sure what the fuck you're supposed to be doing, you know, and then you're going to get yelled at by the chef because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
And he doesn't even know your name yet.
Exactly. And you have all these other cooks and people that are in there, and you're right, like they were worried about their own spot because for the most part, they were worried about themselves getting promoted.
Or just staying off the radar.
Exactly. Not getting in trouble or losing their job or getting something thrown at them. Yeah. But it sounds like you've become, you know, the chef and the owner, which is similar to the professors I had in culinary school. I got lucky when I went to culinary school at age 27. All my chefs were awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, they all had the mentality of the new age of, collect you can
More
attract
bees with honey
than vinegar.
More bees with honey than vinegar. Yeah.
And it was great because, I had, 14 to 27, those years of my life to learn on the job. And then I went to culinary school, and the chefs knew, I was there to graduate. I wasn't there to fuck around. I was there to learn. And I had a goal after the fact of what I was going to do. And they saw that, and not one of them talked rudely, wasn't that kind of like asshole type chef that you're used to.
Yeah.
So the fact that you've gone through that in your career at those restaurants has molded you into the better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The better chef
in my opinion,
owner.
yeah, as well. For myself, you got to take a look at yourself a lot of times. I think a lot of us, I should say a lot of us, but some people just really forget to take a look at themselves sometimes, and I think that could be good for everyone to do occasionally, and
we talk about that a lot on here on Life Choices. Is you really do have to love yourself first, and in order to love yourself, you have to know who you are, and that's the good and the bad.
Yep.
I've done a lot of horrible things in my life. I know that, to myself and to people around me, people I've worked with, friends, everything. Like I've not. There's no perfect human.
No.
But if you can take solace in who you are, if you can learn from your mistakes and change yourself for the better, it's just going to make a better environment for whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, no, and it is. It's positive attitude is something that people want to be around. It's an attractive quality, I think, too. So if you're leading, whether it be a job, like a catering job, or it's an actual service in a restaurant, or it's a wine dinner, leading into it with a positive energy, it rubs off on people, and it's just such a great, it's just the best way to operate at this point, now in life, and to be thankful to have those opportunities too.
Right.
I recently started working with, I say recently, it was actually the very first catering job I ever had. It was the International Wine and Food Society. And, I had the most interesting experience. I was at the brewery in West Palm Beach. It was closed at the time. And we had a pizza oven to utilize, and it was, I believe it was like a 5-course, kind of like rustic. I believe that it was a Burgundy wine or a Bordeaux wine, like a deep, like a heavy red wine, 5-course rustic French dinner. And the only heat source was a plancha, like a 24-inch plancha. It was an electric source, and then the gas pizza oven, right?
Okay.
One of those dome deals. Yeah. And so basically, it's just super simple. Turn it on. You hear a couple clicks. Poof, fire comes out.
Right.
For whatever reason, we had no fire. And we're, T-minus 4 hours out on this dinner that's like, it's like braised, it's short ribs, it's duck legs, it's like,
these are all things that don't take 2 seconds.
It's, well, I mean, the stuff was prepared, like with French food, you kind of learn that you basically you cook this stuff ahead of time and you reheat it to order in restaurants, and for me it was great. I was all set, everything was ready to go, except for I didn't have anything to cook this stuff with. Fuck. But there was a pile of wood over against the wall. So I got permission from the owner, John, the guy who owned the space. And yeah, sure, whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
So we built a small fire on the left side and a small fire on the right side. And I just fed it for the next 6 hours.
Damn.
And basically the oven was so hot. I think it was around 700, 800 degrees, which is pretty warm.
Yeah.
That's not a standard 500. But reheating duck legs.
Oh, God.
In this, I had to basically stick a tray in the oven, pull it out, give it a little spin back in, kind of just sort of crisp up that skin on the legs. And it was the same idea with the short ribs. It was get them in, not too hot, take them out, baste it, trying not to burn this really thick jus that's already on top of the short ribs. So that was kind of a challenge. Anyway, the end of the year, I had another dinner with this same group. And they gave me an award for it was the International Wine and Food Society. It's a nice little plaque. best chef of the year, and then the best event, which was incredibly flattering because, I don't know how many people are familiar with that society. It's a great group. I've gotten a lot of business from working with them, and it just felt good to have, I didn't realize people are watching what I was going through.
Right.
And it was recognized that shit was hard to do.
Right.
And to pull it off the way it did. I think we had like apple galets for a dessert that I was warming the same way, and it was all by wood fire in this pizza oven. It came out perfect. It was exactly what I hoped for, but it felt really good. I think it was like probably 6 or 7 months later to get the award.
Right.
But it was like they all recognized, and it actually created a story for them about the chef they met that had to do this job. And like, it was almost an impossible task. I mean, one of my friends who has a restaurant nearby was like, do you want to come by and use my ovens to heat all this stuff up, And, for whatever reason, I was like, I'm going to tackle this.
Right.
We're going to do this. I'm not moving around. I've been running around enough for this already. We're doing this. And it came out great. And
but
it just felt good,
But it was because of your positive attitude.
Yes, exactly.
You didn't let the circumstance overwhelm you.
Yes.
And as most of us have seen other chefs in our history would lose their mind, blow up, get angry. You stayed
kicking and screaming.
Yeah, you stayed
spitting.
focused. Yeah, you knew your positive attitude was, I'm going to get this done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't really see any other way.
Right.
And it was like, I kind of liked the challenge at the time. And it's, if you ever ask my wife how I am leading into a larger event, she'll say that I'm like cool, very cool cucumber on the day of the event. I do all my anxiety is I remove that in the days leading up to.
Right.
And as the task gets closer and more completed, I feel like that weight lifting, it's natural with anything, not just food.
Right.
But the day of the event, when most people are like, I know I got it.
Right.
I made it this far. I wouldn't be here right now if I wasn't ready,
It's the years of experience of becoming a master at your craft that gives you that confidence and that blind faith in yourself where you're just like, whatever comes my way, I got this.
Yeah.
I've done this a million times before. I know that some equipment might not work.
Yeah.
I'm still going to figure out how to make this success.
Start a fire in a trash can.
Yeah, exactly. All you need is heat, right? You
need some heat. Yep.
That's it.
Yep. Electric or fire. It's you'd be surprised how many times you get in these positions and there's no, they're like, oh, you got to heat something up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you need it hot. So yeah.
And there's a lot of people that don't know the tricks of the trait that we have also. A lot of places or a lot of people don't realize like, okay, we only have a certain amount of equipment in certain kitchens, right? And when you like say scallops, for example, and you say they're grilled scallops or whatever, and sometimes you're just using a frying pan, but you're taking a metal skewer and you're sticking that in a heat source, and then all you're doing before service is just like taking
marking.
You just go and it goes out and people are like, oh my god, it was grilled, and meanwhile it's like, nah man, it was pan fried. We just made it look like that because that's what we had to do.
There's a lot of things that people don't know. Not negative. I don't mean in a negative thing, but there's tricks to the trade. Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, I could think of all these scenarios. Large group walking into a restaurant. You need this food now, and the grill guy is literally sheet tray pushing with his hands, and like he's got a saute pan on the sides of this one of those aluminum pans, and just pushing it down. Trying to get the heat in those steaks or it's actually, it'd always be a burger. Around West Palm, you get a big squad of burger eaters or something. But
I worked in a steakhouse for a very long time, for 10 years actually, and whether they like me saying this or not, I won't say the name. Some people know where I worked for 10 years, but end of the night, you're closing up or whatever, and there's always that one table that comes in 5 minutes before the closing hour.
Yeah, it's just like the waiting movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like such a stereotype,
and you have no choice. I mean, they're a customer, and you're not closed yet, so they could sit there 45 minutes after the restaurant's closed and order then, but then they'd order like a well done steak, and you're 21 years old and you want to go out and drink and have fun, and it's like, all right, they order this like big sirloin steak, which is like a couple inches thick, but they want it well done. So you throw it on the grill, you take one of those grates, you get the tongs and you flip it over, and now you have this iron
10
grate,
pounds of cast iron
just sitting and like just flattening the steak out. But hey, in 7 minutes they had a well done steak that had wicked good grill marks.
And,
exactly. you do what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You know, the end result is what the customer is looking for. You know,
does it look good? Does it taste good?
Yeah.
But your discussion about positive energy and how it just like it makes it easier, and obviously these people that have come back and worked with you time and time again is because of your positive attitude and the way you treat them. And I don't know if you ever read Laws of Attraction.
I feel like that's in our book lineup.
Okay.
Yeah. My wife has a lot of. I see the copy of it over there on your shelf. It very possibly could be in the lineup.
I mean, if it's not, throw it in the Amazon cart. Buy it. It's a great read because it literally discusses exactly how you are. And it just for you, it just affirm that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And it talks about how that positive attitude will draw more people. That energy of happiness, confidence, and just positivity.
Being able to joke.
Yeah. Make light of it, because I've always said this. Like, we're cooking food. We're not saving lives.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
We're not performing surgeries.
We're not cutting someone's chest open to make sure they're So have fun with it, right?
Yeah.
So when you bring that to the table, that's clearly why all these people want to come back and work with you. And like you said, if they have another job, they'll put that aside in order to come make the money with you.
Yeah,
they know they're going to have fun.
Well, and a lot of times, until very recently, you have to keep in mind that restaurant that career choice that's not a financially rewarding career at all. It is like looking at it and the time you spend, your time, your life, you are investing into this. I was always kind of fortunate enough to not ever have like someone who owned the restaurant that was like a jerk. You hear stories about people that are like really just not very pleasant, and that's crazy to me because you have these people working in these certain conditions. They're there all day. You don't know what's going on in their life. They don't even bother you with that part of their life, and the owners need to respect their staff the same. It's like it's the same kind of like what we were just talking about, And I've been fortunate enough to always have super friendly, what do you need? Are you okay?
Right.
They're always understanding to what's going on in my life, because looking at yourself, it's always something, to some extent.
Hey, we've said this so many times here on Life Choices. Life throws itself at you.
Oh yeah.
The more positive and the more good you're doing for yourself and others, the more life shows up at your door and wants to knock you back.
Yeah.
So having owners like that understand that,
yeah,
is very,
that
very
understanding.
fortunate.
Yeah. They didn't always have time, but if you brought the need for something to their attention, I was in that position, always fortunate enough to have an understanding, person there. So
well, it's a great segue into the next conversation here when you talk about the fact that being a cook, you're not doing it for the money.
No.
When and if you become that level of chef and executive this and maybe on TV, like, okay, maybe the money gets there, but it's the passion for the job that you have, and the lifestyle that you're gonna have is not going to be Benjamins flowing at you. So with that being said, when you're cooking in a restaurant, at least there's a level of consistency with the money that's going to come to your way. You know how much you're making an hour. You know the tips you're going to get in the week. So to make that shift for yourself, like, there must have been some really tough situations or tough choices, especially in the house, you and the wife, that had to be made to go from working in restaurants to then taking that leap of faith in yourself to becoming an owner of a catering company.
Yeah.
Because there's the level of, okay, do I have enough people that would trust me
to handle what their needs might be?
Right.
Yeah.
Considering you have not done catering yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was there's definitely learning curves to the beginning of that, but I'll start with kind of how, at home leading up to this point, it was, I had, my son was probably 2 or 3 years old at the time. Maybe in it. Yeah. He was probably 3. So my daughter was like 1.5. And, everybody was kind of home from work. Schools were closed, it was during the pandemic. Right. So, everyone was, home. That's such a wild time.
Right.
If like looking back on that, it's almost like, did that really happen?
I know. Cause now we're in 2023
and no one cares about it anymore at all, which is fine. Cause I feel like we live somewhere where no one cared about it anyway to begin with so much. I mean, some people did, but, So anyway, my wife was always home with these kids during this pandemic. And, you really only saw and learned things from television at the time because there really wasn't any other source anywhere other than social media, which is, take it however you're going to. And so I'm going off into the workforce every day, working in this restaurant around all these people, and I'm coming home. And, that's kind of like not sitting comfortably with my wife, and which perfectly understandable. Again, we only know what we were being told by the news.
Right.
And she kind of needed me around more with the kids, which, it hadn't really struck me as something that I needed to do because I needed to make money to support our family. And I mean, she has a job too. It's not like she was a stay-at-home mother.
Right.
I mean, my wife has a great job. But I needed to be there physically, mentally more, because when I was home from my restaurant job, I was disengaged because I was overtired. Yes. I needed to get off my feet. I was grumpy. I wanted to drink, even though I probably already drank every day that week.
Right.
And I needed to stop going to restaurants. Like, I needed to stop going in and disappearing from my family because I kind of didn't want to be that father that, I didn't want my kids growing up to, I have a dad, he's,
you don't want to be an absent father.
No. And that's, that sort of helped me realize my priorities, I think I don't want to miss my kid's soccer game. I don't want to miss my daughter's dance recital. I don't want to miss a baseball game. I'm going to be there. I'm going to make my own schedule from now on. That's my life priority. So it kind of took, a little motivating for my wife, a little, and a little realizing, looking at myself, understanding. And then one day this guy, John, reaches out to me on Facebook. I didn't know who he was at the time. I didn't know anything about him.
Okay.
And, he's like, hey, we're looking for a chef to do this rustic French dinner, while we had discussed the pizza oven.
Right.
And I was like, sure, I can do something like that. And I kind of got an idea of what they were looking for. I created a menu. I got it to them. And then they were like, yeah. So I thought I had the job, right? I was like, yeah, this is booked, right? This is what something booked looks like, right?
Right.
I got a thumbs up from this guy, Yeah. And, I gave my notice at my job. I was like, I'm out of here in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
It was the end of season. I had actually gone back to a restaurant I had left priorly, for kind of the same reason, more or less, really. I had my first child and I wanted to spend time with the child. So I left. I just took a big step back. I worked with a friend part-time. And then I had a second child. I realized I needed money. Went back to the chef job, consistency, like what you were saying. You could count on how much money you're making. And then I just realized that I'm absent. I'm not part of this parenting process. So anyway, gave my notice to these guys. It was kind of disappointing for them because they kind of were expecting some level of commitment at that point. But, we had discussed verbally how long, what the expectations were. I think my original plan was to kind of start possibly working my way back north towards my own family.
Okay.
So that was kind of the goal. And, life doesn't always pan out the way you plan.
You can actually plan on it not.
You can plan on it not working out as planned. Yes. And so I thought I had this job with these people, right? And then I gave my notice. And then, we're my last week at my restaurant. I went in and I met with them and we're discussing the event on the location. And then they're like, okay, yeah, we'll take you. We're going to do this. And I was walking back to the restaurant because it was on a Sunday, I think. And it dawned on me that I quit my job without these people even they weren't decided that I was their chef for this event. And it was down to me and a couple other people, because they worked with a lot of chefs around here. And they gave me the job and I took it and I started. That was my first event. I didn't really have a big plan. I just was like, well, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I approached it with that attitude and I realized, relatively quickly that's, you got to have some sort of plan, right? I just really got lucky with the fact that the people I was working for really appreciated the food I made. And it kind of has snowballed into some really amazing relationships with these people. you know, they think of me for any occasion, you know, that I've done a son's bachelor party, and then one of their friends was getting married. So it was like their bachelorette party. They actually had me go with them on a trip to Lake Placid for, you know, an overnight deal to make the food for their party. And I mean, just like really kind of cool opportunities that you wouldn't, you know, get every day doing that stuff. And it's just been good. And, you know, it was that first step. Like I needed a push to take that first step. Yeah. You know, and I did. And then it was like, okay. And it just started rolling. And now here we are almost 2 years later now at this point. I mean, we're coming up on that mark. It'll be 2 years in May, I think, since we kind of established the whole catering thing. So that's great.
That's a huge milestone for sure.
Yeah. That first year was, looking back at it, was a little scary.
No
like,
doubt,
you know,
right?
Not really knowing what you were going to do for money is, you know, you have a plan, but you don't have a fully ironed out plan. And it's like, just kind of, all right, I don't have anything next month. Like,
where's the money gonna come?
What am I going to do? Like, that's not how life works. You got to have a flow.
Yes.
So
now, you had two passions then, basically. You had the passion for cooking that you wanted to do your own thing, but you had your passion for your family.
Yeah.
And those two factors basically is what kind of catapulted you into leaving the employee season of your life into the employer season.
And if anyone, you know, ever wanted my advice, when I meet a young cook that I see their talent,
you're talking to them right now. You're talking to them right now.
Yeah. Oh,
they're listening. They're listening.
I'm like, hey, he cooks too.
Yeah, he does want to cook a little bit. Yeah.
But if I could give any young chefs, like we all meet those guys, you see the fire in their eyes. Yes. They work their ass off. They just put down Kitchen Confidential. They're like got a fire under their ass. They want
They're
it.
the first ones in, last ones out.
Yes. When I see those guys, I'm like, you should quit your job and not work for anyone else. You should work for yourself. You would, and they have no idea. They can't wrap their head around what I'm talking about. Right. And it's kind of hard to explain. It's not like, I'm not saying go quit your job. I'm saying have a plan, obviously, you know, have some intention. Exactly. But like working for yourself is, it's different. It opens opportunities to make money that you never will make getting paid by the hour.
And that's because, unfortunately, in the society we live in, they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to have that knowledge.
No, we're not taught that in schools here.
That's the last thing they would tell you in a school, for sure.
Yeah.
And I agree. You're not telling these kids to quit their job. It's the intent of putting forth small goals. Yeah. If you have that hunger in you for whatever, whether it's cooking or carpentry.
Anything, exactly.
Anything. Just know, get the skills, learn what you can from the people around you that are already masters at their craft.
Take the good and leave the bad. Exactly. That's the one thing I told people all through every restaurant. I tried to take the good and leave the bad behind as I went through. So that's an important part of it.
But then have that mission in your life. Your goal should be to be your own boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no reason why you don't.
It's amazing the difference. Like I said, it opens. It's like there's no limit. There's no limit to working for yourself, and you can do anything you want. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't. This isn't just applying this to cooking. This is like just you see what you want. You visualize the process, and then you just kind of like just start. You know, because not doing anything at all is the worst thing that you could do, you know, or just staying in the mundane. Yeah. Just settling, I guess would be a nice way of saying, just settling for what, you know,
complacency.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's not, that doesn't take you on trips out of the country a couple times a year, you know, no. And it doesn't give you opportunities, you know, it sucks to, it really sucks to not be able to do something because you just can't afford it. You know, that's not like the kind of life that any of us want to live. And it's like, that's when you work for someone else hourly, you're limited to what they're considering your worth. And I think the first part of working is knowing your own worth.
1,000%.
You need to know. And if you don't know, Google it. Yeah. Like literally Google it. How much does a private chef make? How much does a caterer make? how much, like, okay, at least you have an idea of where to start. Okay, this is an average cost. I'll start here. Let's start here.
Right.
And see what kind of clients I get. If you're getting clients that you don't like, then you can actually increasing your money. It's kind of like what our country is doing right now. I don't know if you noticed, we're like, the availability of things is getting limited, and the price of it is all, it's like an angle we're taking right now. And it's like, you kind of do that with catering, and you weed out all the busters from like anyone that would like sit there and nickel and dime your bottom line over, things. So,
I mean, I see that hugely because I have a F1, 1987 F-150, right? And so like I've had a couple AC compressors that, remanufactured, didn't work, bought a new one, it went in, and now I have to buy a new one because it got put back in after my engine was taken out. And so the same AC compressor, the exact same, same model number, everything, right?
Yeah.
4 months ago, it's now $100 more.
Oops.
It's the same. It's the same product. That's not made differently. There's no extra piece of gold in it.
That's funny. You have I had an 87 F-150.
Really?
Yeah. It was like a 6-foot bed, probably only rear wheel drive though. I lived in Massachusetts with a rear wheel drive 87 F-150. It was like this in the winter.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
that's funny. But getting back to what you were saying, that the truth about it is when you look inside yourself is that the only limitation that there truly is yourself.
Yeah.
You put your own limits on you.
Yeah. And it's actually something I'm still kind of teaching myself, my wife is really into motivational, making yourself better, like all the things, and we've recently really been kind of hitting it hard, trying to be better every day, just a little piece every day.
That's my life the past 2 years.
You just gotta start, and just be better than you were yesterday. And I think that one thing that a lot of people run into is they get on social media and compare themselves to other people. And I think that it's not fair. Like, to do that to yourself. It doesn't make sense. It's like, why would I compare myself to, somebody who, their story's different. It's different. It doesn't matter
through what you've went through.
No. And I don't know what they went through to get to where they are. So comparing the two, it's kind of an odd thing to do to yourself. And, so just being a little better every day, for me, it was like, I think I started walking like on a regular basis.
Yep.
In the morning, first thing, before coffee, any of that stuff, just get out there, get like a mile, maybe 2 miles. And I like to do it before I go to bed too. A better Sam, a better Sam. And that was, all right, I need to get a little more active. I'm tired at the end of the day. I need to get more active. So we're doing the walks, and then, it wasn't just a walk anymore. So the walk in the beginning of my day, I'm putting together my day. Like I said, I know what it looks like. So I'm visualizing it. I got about 25 minutes. I get back to the house, get the kids off to school, wife off to work, and then start knocking it out. All the things that I kind of visualize doing, we start, and I usually end up with a little time here or there, and that's where I go off and do something, fun, like something not that I didn't intend on necessarily doing. I like to have that time of my day if possible. It's usually going to the beach to some extent. We live pretty close to the beach, and then the end of the day, it's like right when the kids go down. It's a nice way to help your food digest. You feel better. You feel better if your stomach doesn't feel like, I'm full of my dinner when you sit down and just kind of let it. I like to go for that same walk, sometimes different route, whatever. And that's my reflection period. It's like, okay, I look at my day, if it wasn't really that good of a day, I kind of am like, well, what could I have done to made my day different?
Right.
What did I do that, why wasn't it a good day? What happened? What can I do differently? Or how would I approach my day differently to, it's just little things like that, we don't actually take the time. It's kind of like, all the mental health, everyone's becoming more aware of this. Because it's a thing.
There's more of us on a visual platform that's giving the information, not just giving the information, but honestly sharing that we do it as well, which is important from the aspect of men.
Yeah.
Because we have a stigma where we're not allowed to talk about these things.
Yeah.
And the fact that you just told us your routine is amazing because, our viewers know that myself, I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I take Sushi, my dog, for a walk. We go 45 minutes to an hour. So I don't know how many miles that is.
Yeah, that's a good walk, though.
And that's my reflection time. That's when I think about what I'm going to do in the day. I talk to God. I talk to my dad who's passed 5 years ago, but I fully admit this to my viewers. Like, this is what I do in a day to make my day great and to make Brad better than yesterday.
Yeah.
And then like you at night, I love it. One of the books over here on my shelf that I've read has exactly what you say you do at the end of the day. And I do that when I get in bed, which is look at my day, the good and the bad.
Yep.
You know, in order to get a restful sleep, you need to do exactly what you're doing. You need to let go of the good and the bad that you did, but be aware of what it was.
Yes.
So that tomorrow you can be better.
Yeah. And if that same situation repeats itself for whatever reason, what could you do differently to, you know, have a different outcome? You know, because doing the same thing in expecting a different result is, you know, the definition of insanity.
Exactly.
Actually. Yeah.
Yes. 100%. Yeah.
It's like going into work in a restaurant every day, you know, kind of holding on to today's going to be the day, but really,
but if you don't
have to make
different,
it be the day, you know,
exactly.
what are you going to do to make it be the day?
So what would you say then? I love where your mind is, and I think that's why we've always gotten along, and why this is such a nice flow and easy conversation. Is we're both at that kind of stage in our life. We're different ages, but we're both at that stage in our life where we're becoming a better human is important to us. And realizing, because we both realize that we want to be a better person than we were yesterday. That's what we were talking about. And, you know, being that we're grown men, comfortable in ourselves, and sharing this with, you know, the viewers, you know, in hopes that they understand that it's okay to be like that.
Yeah.
You know,
of course.
And giving the gratitude, you know, having your reflection time, letting go of what happened in the day, whether it was good or bad, is important for yourself to be able to fall asleep. Because we do talk about good and bad on life choices here. What were some of like the scarier moments? Like, you know, you've made that decision, you've made that shift to become your own boss. You have a wife, you have at least one kid at the time, if not two.
Yeah, no, it was two. It was two children at that time.
So dad, husband, father of two, you know, and like we said, being a cook is not financial freedom.
No.
You know, so how scary was it? Like,
you know, unfortunately, money is a thing, you know, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We're the only mammals on this planet that have to pay to live here.
Right.
You know, it's wild to think of. But I get it. We're obviously, you know, we have a little more things than animals do. But
exactly.
So that's the scariest part is, you know, having a mortgage, having a home. You know, we finally live in a nice area. Like we love our town where we live. You know, you don't have those same concerns you would have necessarily living in places we've lived before. You always have that looming fear of losing things that you have, I think. And that would be the main driving force, I think, is just like trying to stay on top of your finances and keeping that part of it together. But then you also have, you know, people was the other thing that was tough is I didn't in the beginning always necessarily have the best gigs. Like I had to find those right people. Like, yeah, my first event was with that society, the society that they're amazing. And then I had, actually the first summertime's very scary for the hospitality industry. Right. So the very
Especially
first
here in
summer,
South Florida.
yes, the first summer was not full of stuff, but I had a reoccurring job. I'm not going to say where I was catering to, right. But that was awful. That was awful, but I had to do that. This was probably one of maybe, I don't know exactly how many times we handled, I did business with them, but it was twice a week for a good run through the summer anyway, into the following season. And, the person that I worked with wasn't a very good communicator, and they were very rude whenever we did speak. And it was kind of like, if I had more money, or if I was a little more in control of my finances, or had other work, I would have loved to have really let that person know how they were making me feel, you know, but that is not something you can do as like, I need my business to grow. I don't need it to, I don't need like a review on Google. Right. For God's sakes. It's like, this guy's an asshole. Like, don't do business with him. He's going to say this to you. because that's definitely not who I am, you know?
Right.
It was like one of those things, like I like to treat people how I want to be treated. And this guy was just like very unpleasant to do business with and poor communicator. Like I never had any idea what was going on. Like, is this enough food? Blah, blah, blah. You know, like just the little things that a simple conversation could have like eased my mind. And then when we cut ties, it was just kind of like, I got this email that was like, no more food. Like you're done like delivering here. And it was like, for some people losing a contract like that might've been a little scary, but for me, it was like, oh, thank God. That was so miserable. That was like,
well, the energy that he was giving you
it was bad.
For all the hard work was not worth it.
It wasn't my fault because I understand now. Even 2 years ago, I didn't always see the whole picture as far as, you know, somebody's being a jerk to me because they're attacking. He wasn't attacking me. He was in a tough spot. Probably had like, I think it was like a newborn child, which if anyone's had children, they know that's actually a very magical time for the first few months. And then like reality kind of starts to set in.
Lack of sleep.
Yeah. Lack of sleep. You know, just you realize that you have this person that you're totally responsible for and you need to make it work. Like, and you want the best, you want the best for them, no matter what. If that means, you know, they will always come before you once you've had a child. I feel like it's just the way a parent's mindset is. And I know he had just recently had a baby and it just didn't seem like, you know, he was ever very happy when we met in person. But you know those people that like can text you like vicious, but like face to face, it wouldn't cross their mind to speak to you that way. It was like one of those relationships. So every time I would just like I just wanted to, like, I feel like it was even like moments where I text what I was wanting to say.
Right.
And then it was like, no, I have to suck this one up.
Rewind.
I have to suck. Yeah. Like careful. I got big sausage fingers trying to like delete it so I don't accidentally hit send, you know? And that was like one of those examples that was tough to swallow that pill because, you know, at the end of the day, like I really wasn't making enough money to even be doing it anyway. It was like, and that was hard. So I was worried about money. The only thing that I was doing consistently was probably the most miserable like gig I've ever had. And I didn't have a choice. I didn't see a choice. Right. So that for me, that first summer when I was in that position, that was the hardest thing for me. Like I was like trying to see how this was going to work. I was like, if this is the way this shit's going to be, like I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, but it's not this.
Right. I mean, there's a couple of good lessons there when it comes to business. Like the first lesson is, as much as people feel like, you know, you shouldn't take shit from others, unfortunately, when you're thinking about your livelihood, you sometimes have to bite your tongue. Yeah. You know, and that's a good lesson for anyone going into any field. Yes. You know, especially nowadays with social media, you know, Twitter, Google reviews, everything. People can say whatever they want about
Keyboard
you.
warriors.
Yeah, exactly. The bravery behind the pen. Yeah. But it's thinking big picture. It's thinking, okay, I'm trying to create a life for my family. I'm trying to create a business for myself that's going to be financially helping me. So sometimes, you have to like just be like, all right, not say what you want to say to them. Yes. But at the same time, realize that if it's not good energy, you know, if it's not good energy coming
try and figure it out early on.
Figure it out quickly and get out of the situation. Yes. You know, I've done a job for 15 years in the, you know, private yacht chef. And a lot of what you're talking about, you know, budgets and kind of astronomical demands or requests, you know, you deal with those on a daily basis. And knowing your worth, which you said before, I now, 15 years later in the industry, I now have all these things in my back pocket where when I go to a new job, this is how much I get paid. This is what I'm not dealing with. Yep. You know, and this is in my own head. Yes. You know what I'm saying? That these are the lists that I make in my own head so that when I go into this situation, as soon as I see that these things aren't being done or aren't being achieved or I'm not getting, you know, what I want out of it, bye. 100%. If you are going to be unhappy, that's not the point. You're going to become you're an entrepreneur. You want to be your own boss. That's so that you can be happy. Yes. If you're not happy doing it, switch it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the beginning, you have to be aware of where you're standing.
Yes.
That's an important lesson.
Yeah, because if you're, you know, if you're for me, my background experience has been like amazing. I actually had this story. I was at a Super Bowl party with some people last night. We were kind of discussing how I got to meet, you know, the host of the party, I think it was.
Right.
And I was like, I was this accidental series of events that led me through I feel like probably the best culinary training you could ask for in this area, you know, working for some of the best chefs and having some of the best opportunities. And it was all so unintentional. It was like something aligned for me to get me to go through. You know, I always knew I always kind of like had my eye on the prize, like the next, like when I was done learning, I knew when I was done learning in a restaurant, it was either 4 months in or it was like 4 years in, but I knew when the time came that okay, this time for the next. And I've actually been in a lot of different restaurants because of that. And you know, it's not that necessarily they were bad jobs. It was just not for me at the time or whatever. You know, there's all the different things, all the different factors involved, and it's back to knowing your worth. You know, that's it. You have to know your worth. You have to go into these jobs. It's just a way to be happy. You have to, people just need to like take care of themselves first, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the priority, I think. And then if you are happy in what you're doing and what your requirements for that happiness are being met, you know, you're going to thrive doing that. And that's it, you know.
It's the water on the seeds so the plant can grow.
Yes. And I don't know. I mean, just right now, life is good. I feel like I have a great friend group. You know, I don't have like, I've had friends come and go that were amazing at the time, but like looking back on it, like what we had in common wasn't necessarily something like I couldn't apply that to my life right now. You know, I couldn't. There's some people that I would love to hang out again with that I miss, and they were such great friends. I feel like we could be great friends again, but it's like, again, they don't have children, for example. Right. It's hard for someone who's never had kids to understand why I can't even pick up the phone when you call, because I know that you want me to go and drink with you, or you want me to go and I just, you know, it sucks, but
I get it because I don't have children that I know about. But a lot of our guests that come on the show are fathers. Yeah. You know, and I only understand it because of the people informing me about it, you know, so that like, I mean, I don't go out and drink every day anymore anyways, but I get it. You know, the busyness of a household when you have children is much different than a busyness of a bachelor. It's different. Yeah, it is. But another good point is that you're bringing up, people come into your lives for seasons. Yes. You know, that's a big thing out there on social media right now. There's a couple of reels and what have you that, you know, talk about, you know, people coming into your life for seasons, and knowing who those people are and being okay with either yourself letting them go or just being okay with that they're gone. Because there's other things involved, you know, that bring people into your life for certain reasons and take people out of your lives. Yeah. And having a small group of friends that you're happy with now is important. I talk about this very frequently. I live on a property with 3 of my best friends. Yeah. Not a big fan of the words best friends because they're more family. Yeah. You know? Yeah, exactly. And they're the only people. So like, you know, I'm working on yachts. I come in and out, right? I'm in and out of port constantly. So when I am in town, you know, I have a place to lay my head. And when I come back in town, the only thing I care about is spending time with these guys. Yeah. Because we all have like a similar mindset. They're all driven to become better at what they're doing. For the most part, most of my inner circle of close friends own their own business or company. You know, that's a good group of friends. Then, you know, that's somebody who's gone to that next. Yeah. Well, we're all trying to get to that next level, basically. And that's my big thing is like, I just want everyone to level up together. You know, I don't want to be a billionaire by myself. I've worked for the 1% of the 1%. I see how not so happy they are regularly. You know, they have to concern themselves with. I'd rather be a millionaire with all my millionaire friends. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. There are stresses. You know, people think, oh, you make money, you won't have stress. Bullshit. Yeah. You have different stress. Yeah. Anxiety, stress is always options. There. You'll have more excitement. Yeah. You'll have better ways to deal with life when it comes at you. Yep. But that small circle of friends is very important for anyone to realize, especially if you're going to venture off on your own to become an entrepreneur, to become a business person. You need to have a small group of people that can tell you how it is. You know, you're going to continue on with the catering company,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep. And other ventures.
Right. You have other things in the mix.
Yep.
On the go. We can, when you come back next time, because I would like you to come back on another episode here. We can talk about your other endeavors. The catering company is here in...
based out of Jupiter.
Based out of Jupiter,
based
Florida.
out of Jupiter, Florida. Yep.
Okay, and we'll have the social media and the contact information below this video for everyone to contact you when they want to have an event.
Yeah, and no party is too small. You know,
no party's too small.
No, you know, the best part about cooking for people in their homes is it's the most rewarding cooking I've ever done. It really is, because when you're the chef, you only hear about what went wrong all day. But when you're actually in someone's home and you're making a really nice dinner and, you know, socializing with them, like it's
the gratitude.
It's the most reward. Yeah. It's far more rewarding than money. And
okay,
you know,
I get it. When I do a dinner on a boat and I go out after dinner, you know, it's a weird reaction, but yeah, like and it's like they're really like applauding you and like, ooh, the chef, and it's like, I need money to get, you know, I need a paycheck to pay for my company, but yeah, that moment, that feeling inside is just like
the most rewarding. It really is. And it's like I probably have such a weird smile, like an unnatural smile, because all my life working in restaurants, it was like you never, like, getting complimented is hard for me to like accept a compliment. It's like I came through this generation of, you know, just the whooping. The hospitality industry was a whooping over the last 20 years, you know,
and it probably still will be for a long time.
But I think it's changing. I think we're going to see a big change. I mean, we are witnessing a change, but I think that it's not going to be the same. It's just,
and I think that point's valid, because more of us are becoming more self-aware. More of us are understanding mental health is a very, very, very important thing. More of us are reading and learning and giving that same resource out to other people so that they can then get better as an individual. So as a society, we need to start getting better as individuals and then as a group. So that makes sense. So Sam Horrocks. Company, Sam Horrocks Catering makes it easy to remember.
Yeah, you know, it's just like, that's not a name you see every day,
right? Exactly.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, that's kind of the hook on that one. It's like, oh well, that's
his name.
That's his name.
Makes sense. Easy enough. So thank you, Sam, so very much for coming here today.
Thank you for having me.
It's been great. Yeah, it's been a great conversation. I hope all the viewers have enjoyed all of the information we've given you. I like the very vulnerability that you have when you talk. It's nice. It's refreshing. Nothing was held back. It was great. Thank you, everyone, for coming out again this week on Life Choices. We hope to see you next week for another episode. Don't forget to scroll down and hit like, comment, share, subscribe, of course. Reach out to us. Send us an email. Make a little comment at the bottom here of other topics you might want us to talk about. But as always, thank you so much for showing up. You're a great human being.
It's great to be here.
Good luck with the catering and the future endeavors. And everyone else, we'll see you next time. And always remember, anything you do in life, it's your move. Much love, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen,
You are now about
The Journey, Life Choices Podcast.